How did you discover your fetish for the first time, and how did it evolve after that? NSFW. I was watching Archer, and whenever Carol Cheryl's choking fetish arose, I just thought to myself, damn, why don't I try that? When I was 10, I somehow managed to develop paraphilia. It probably came from the bonfires I had with a cousin of mine and his friends. At one point they just threw pages of porn mags into the fires while I just watched, in awe, as some of the greatest tits 10-year-old me ever saw burn to ash. In conclusion, our brains are ducking weird. I love guy-on-guy porn. Why? I have no idea. Maybe because I love the cock as much as I do. All shapes, sizes, etc. They're intriguing. I may have a small amount of DNV. Interesting feeling to get that off my chest. In my early teens I would always, like any other teenager, already get aroused if a girl touched me with her hands. And if I was holding hands, it was even more intense. It would make me feel crazy good. I don't know how one day I knew that beautiful filigrane female hands were my fetish, but it was just like that. If you got really nice female hands with fingernails you've taken care of, length, no ducking, artificial it, and even black nail polish, I'm all yours. If I find the whole package attractive too, of course. The second one started off with watching hentais, I guess. In hentais the women is basically always suppressed in one way or another, or puts this forced painful attitude on. This led me further, and when I first saw some kind of forced sex scene in a movie I was really turned on. This developed to her abuse fetish and crosses over with BDSM. Dated a chick that wore high heels. That was it for me. Damn, I like a chick in heels. Breast expansion. It grew on me. Most prominent are tentacle porn, obviously. Gigantic breasts. Little girls with large breasts. Breast expansion. Breasts actively enlarging within seconds. Large nipples. Breasts tightened in ill-fitting clothing. Swimsuits. Gym uniforms. And perhaps a few more I could list. I guess it all started around my love of anime when I was 9-10. I somehow found the use of the word eki. Started looking around and such. I guess the fetish infusion started because that period of time was puberty and I grew sexually around the same time my normal sexual views were altered. So I liked anime porn. And then the fetishes appeared. And it all snowballed from there. I find normal porn just doesn't cut it for me. I feel something missing because of the fact you can just draw the perfect woman in anime. I'm still a man. And I look at nice bodies. But I doubt it affects me the same way it might affect others. I'm coming to terms with the fact that my sexual well-being may have been destroyed by this. But I try not to let it bother me. It may just be my chaotic medium view on sex. The same way I view most things. In a hoe, I delight in sharing the creed. So if anyone needs examples of some fetishes I mentioned above, if they can't conceive of what one would look like, or if anyone wants to view them for scientific purposes, I would happily oblige. Whilst reading this entire thread: what is wrong with me? Not exactly a happy story. I've seen some it. So, I'm little. Say, first grade roughly. I innocently walk into a public bathroom and see some guy pinning a kid in a bathroom stall. His expression changes. I knew something was out of. I watched that VHS so much I wore out the tape on that scene. Flash forward to 6th grade and I'm watching The Simpsons. Homer flashes back to a zoo experience he had when he was younger. Homer calls over a zookeeper and tells him the monkeys are killing each other. The zookeeper whispers in the man's ear and Homer goes, "Oh." That's when I realize what happened. I get scared, angry. I start laughing uncontrollably. I think about it a lot. When I discover my sexuality, I start to look at wanting sex as the desires of a pathetic, vile, and desperate men. Flash forward to 8th grade. I'm not fapping, but I do start to have fantasies as I go to sleep. Most of them revolved around girls who start complaining of things being too hot and they have to take off their clothes against their will. Eventually, I start to add girls to my fantasies and my fantasies become orgies filled with girls forcibly taking off their clothes and being sexual with each other. Non-consent becomes a big fantasy of mine. Flash forward to just out of high school and I'm looking up bondage sites. I start dating girls who ask me to do some crazy it to them. One girl asked me to make fun of her for being fat. I started to get off on this even though she was incredibly skinny. I would grab her stomach and squeeze it to bunch up the skin and show her a fold. I spanked her, punished her, and made her cry. And when I started to feel bad about it, she called me up begging for me to do it again. Skinny girl actually went on to be included in an issue of Playboy. She's not famous or anything, but she does do random naked extra work here and there. From there, I met another girl who wanted me to spank her all the time and called me daddy. We decided to go to a fetish munch where you can pretty much do anything you want up to the point of intercourse. People walk around naked. Some people are strung up and flogged in front of a group of strangers. One of the strangest things I saw was a girl who sat at the entrance to a BDSM club and said she was Facebook and that I should post to her wall. Her tits and cunt had already been taken. Me and my date signed her back, I think. We walk into the club and the first thing I see is a girl strapped to a mock doctor's office bed, legs spread, and her pussy was gushing juice. Like, seriously. I thought this kind of wetness was only possible with movie magic. I guess some of it had to be sweat, but, geesh, I could probably fill a water glass every 10 minutes with all the juices flowing out of her cunt. As I got deeper and deeper into this lifestyle, my fetish list grew. I was looking for higher and higher levels of arousal. Suddenly seeing a girl with large tits kissing another girl wasn't nearly enough. Sometimes I would sit in my room and masturbate for an entire weekend with only minimal breaks for food, exercise, and video games. I would jerk off so much that I would call in sick for work the following Monday, and by the time I had my fill, the skin of my D had been worn down. This is the real meaning of rubbing one off. Towards the end of my run, I had had sexual encounters with more women than I could count. Indulging fantasies I was only interested in because they gave me some measure of power over them. One of the ones I really feel bad about in retrospect was being a feeder to a girl who liked it when I went through her pictures in Photoshop and highlighted all of her imperfections. The craziest thing I ever did was help a girl lactate. She introduced me to the idea and I ducking loved it. We went all out. We hooked up with a friend of mine who had a milking machine and we made it a daily routine until she started producing. Once she started producing milk, it didn't take long before her milk production was to the point that she had to be milked or her breasts hurt. Sometimes I used milking as leverage over her. Do this or you won't be milked tonight. And you know how silly you'll look at work with dripping teats and sore breasts. That was probably one of my favorite bits. I still look at pictures of her on the net. To this day she degrade and humiliate them. They don't really beg you to come back. There are tons of men out there, but the hot ones, oh boy, the hot ones can never find a guy who will treat them that way. They almost all tell me other guys. They'll compliment me, tell me how pretty I look, tell me I won't ever have to work again. You don't treat me like that. You treat me like a duck toy, like I'm just a piece of candy you can buy at a liquor store. When I was leaving, I had a girl who would probably average a 7/0 or 8 out of 10 cry and beg me to humiliate and degrade her one last time. I'll add, I'm just an average looking guy. The strange thing is that I rarely had actual sex with these women. But not because they didn't want the D. Intercourse was too intimate. Made me feel too vulnerable. There was lots of heavy petting and fingering. But my D rarely went inside of E no matter how much I was asked to enter one. Part of my sexual dysfunction, I suppose. I stopped doing these things a year ago because I was disgusted at some of the things I've done. I knew that I had just been trying to rectify that imbalance of power I saw all those years ago. Not long after I decided I was done with BDSM and power play, I started seeing a therapist. I'm a lot better now. I still have cravings to do some of those things, but I don't engage in behavior that I regret anymore. At this point I'm pretty much ready to be mostly vanilla. TLDR, witnessed a kid being molested at a random public bathroom. Got a fetish for being in control and humiliating women. Full stop. I was branching out to new styles of porn, giving everyone their fair chance. I got to the extreme porn part and there was category dedicated to piss. Watching sexy women piss on each other was hot. Then there was this video of this extremely beautiful, nice ass woman in tight jeans. She starts rubbing herself. She turns around and bends over, rubs her hand over her pussy and reaches as far as she can up her backside. Brings her hand back down, then pisses her jeans. I have never come so close to finishing without touching myself before in my life. Now when I need to take care of business, that's what I go hunting for. I really like honey. A lot of people don't know what a fetish is. Butts. Ladies' cheeks are just rad. TL. Dr. Butts. I think I was born a freak lol, but my spanking and light bondage fetish really came out after watching a BDSM documentary. I got my husband into it too, and it makes for some very fun and kinky nights as we continue to add new toys and things to our collection. When I was a kid, I had a lot of porn pictures in my computer. I didn't know what was it, but all then had something in common. Something that made me save that photo because I liked it. Then one day at school, a girl started to tease me with her feet. I found her feet cute. It was very feminine and pink with cute pink toes, and that started to do me. Then I noticed that I was getting horny because of her feet. So when I went home and saw my photos again, I noticed all girls in the photos had cute feet. I'm not like a foot addicted, like people who like dirty feet. Feet stepping on things, big nails and stuff like. But a girl with a cute feet really make me horny. And foot job with N too. It's very sexy and seductive. The bad side is that a girl with ugly feet have the opposite effect. I had a daydream about a man doing my girlfriend, and it turned me on. Still repressing this, though. I like biting girls. I don't know why I like biting girls, but I just do. I'm also into being dominant and being begged, tying girls up, and maybe even being called daddy or sir. Nothing out of the ordinary, but it's still good fun. It started with playfully biting a boy's lower lip while kissing and yanking his hair, and I noticed my excitement. From then on it developed into a slightly sadistic domination tendency. I come from a culture where women have to be submissive and obedient, so to contradict that feels like a taboo. And I just really like hearing grown men yelp. When I was like 16, I discovered I was into Amazonian women giantesses. I think Xena helped. I'm 24 now and fully accepting of my kink. Only had one girlfriend that fully indulges it and a few female friends. Working out I like to be stood on my giant women took a long time to come to terms with. And now it's just a big part of my life and I'm quite open about it. I put on my robe and wizard hat. Someone will get this, I hope. I've always been a domineering, in charge of my life type of person, and I would be lying if I said I was never called a control freak. Until one day I was dating a lovely gentleman and he asked me to be submissive to him. After that my gut busting laughter stopped and I looked at him and his attitude posture had changed. I figured, what the hell, sure, I am open minded. Well, boys and girls, I kid you not, it was the best ugly bumping session I have ever had. I have now been a sub for 5 years and have never looked back. I was hooking up with a girl and she just started choking me when she was on top. My eyes went wide and I just grabbed her throat and choked back. Flipped her over and ducked her as hard as I could while we choked each other out. Came harder than I'd ever came before. I have a hard time finding women who are into it though, and I kind of have to be in the mood for it. I've had girls who want it all the time and it gets tiresome. And girls who just get freaked out by it. I went down on my girlfriend not knowing she was on her period. Figured it would be rude to just stop when I had already gone that far. Turns out I liked blood a lot more than I thought. Started looking up gore on the internet and it's just kind of developed to the point where I'm not weirded out by it anymore. I think blood and bruises are sexy, and I'm not sure why. Implying I have a fetish. No idea. It just grew over time. And finally it got to the point where I realized it was a fetish. After that, I just kind of accepted it. I love two things. One is the risk of getting a girl pregnant. My GF and I will roleplay pretty often that she is not on birth control and it's a bad time of the month. It makes us ridiculously hot, but she actually uses BC and doesn't want kids anytime soon. And the other is I love the feel of a girl with a bush occasionally. So sometimes she'll let it go natural for a month or two and then shave it when we want to change things up. I think they both started because my very first GF didn't use BC or shave. Never got her pregnant, but damn, she was amazing in bed. I found out about 8 months ago that my boyfriend is a cross-dresser. He just loves dressing in women's clothing, dresses, heels, makeup, the works. When I first found out I was completely accepting, but I didn't think it would turn into anything sexual. Well, it has, and I really love it. I get off on him dressing up and being comfortable in his own skin. Yeah, that's really all there is to it. I also enjoy bondage and just being treated roughly. I used to watch movies and television shows where characters would have an unhealthy infatuation with another character. They would stalk them and in the end earn their trust and end up making their move. In the end, the woman would be tied up and the guy would get to take advantage of her. When I was younger, like 5 or 6, I had the strangest fascination for the image of a ball and chain that appeared in a Bernstein Bears book. All through those elementary years I always had a strange curiosity for diapers, probably due to being a chronic bedwetter. Fast forward 25 years and I've been wearing diapers for fun since I was 16 and got online that first time. And well, bondage. Who doesn't like a bit or a lot of tie-up games? Semicolon. I do it because I know she loves it, and that makes me like it even more, and that's where it all started from. Oh, and I love short-haired women. This thread makes me wonder. Your fetish, haha, like there's one of them. One of my friends and I were engaged in heavy petting. She mentioned she loved being tied up and giving over control. I found it insanely hot, undid my belt, and tied her to the couch on the spot. This was really the first embrace and discovery for me, though the concept of it had played in my mind before, though I didn't see it as acceptable. Since then it has developed into full roleplay and a dom-sub relationship between us, and it really has come to be a core aspect of my sexuality, and I find a bound and submitted woman to be the hottest thing ever. It was a part before then, but I wasn't aware of it at all before getting together with her. I was gonna throw away this because I have people who know my handle. But I'm me, and if I can't respect that, no one should. I have a cuckolding fetish. For some reason, the idea that two people can be truly in love with each other even while one is being ducked by someone else and the other gets no physical attention pushes the right button. Seeing a woman lose her virginity on her wedding day to someone other than her husband would be the holy grail of porn for me. Actually having it happen would probably cause me to be sucked into some reality-bent interdimensional black hole made from the sheer horniness I'd experience from it. I could be completely wrong, but I think it stems from not having had a girlfriend for about 6 years now. Despite me being in my prime, I feel lonely, and because I never had anyone to tell me or show me how to talk to girls, how not to see them as this amazing creature I shouldn't be afraid to approach, I don't have the confidence to it. The only lesson I had on talking to girls as a teen was tell her bend over itch. I'm driving, thanks. Dad, should indicate just how unprepared I am. This was coming from a man that had 2 sexual partners his entire life. So, story of my life now done. I think it might be the idea that someone could love or be loved enough that an act of sex isn't the decider for it, and they take it a step further by proving it. I went to a Catholic school for 10 years. Going through puberty surrounded by girls wearing school uniforms gave me a schoolgirl uniform fetish. I've always liked female feet. I have no idea why. Legs make me randy baby. Just realized every girl I had dated over a 6-year time period had long legs. Just thinking about it now. Homer Simpson donut gurgle. I watched a video called Bubble Pop. Then I realized I was into Asian women. Edit. Not really a fetish I guess, but there you go. Haven't really got one yet, but if I keep reading these responses I'm bound to experiment enough to find it. My boyfriend, at the time, made us a cake. We ate it. Afterwards he started teasing me sexually and said I like my girls stuffed before I stuff them. From that point on I've really enjoyed combining food and sex, ironically, much more than he does. He wasn't particularly keen on indulging that fetish. I just cannot explain the sensory overload of pleasure that is eating delicious junk food whilst being ducked. Pregnant women. I once had this teacher who was pregnant and I don't know, turned me on so badly. Well, it started off with both my hands breaking. My mom decided to help me, and that's when I realized that I was into incest. My girlfriend and I broke up for about a year and saw other people. I dated a girl she didn't know, whereas she decided to date a mutual friend. This made me irrationally jealous, but also incredibly attracted to her all over again. This grew into an obsession with me fantasizing about her having sex with someone else, and even me catching them in the act. I'm pretty sure I'd go apeshit if this were to actually happen, but until then, just about nothing gets me more aroused. Man, my libido is going to be totally ducked if this ever goes down. I discovered it by remembering how I treated my Wonder Woman action figure as a child. Yeah. As long as I can remember, I've been fascinated with guys' feet. I imagine that I'll make a great girlfriend someday because I long to massage some guy's big, veiny, hairy feet. Are there any other girls out there with foot fetishes? I've never heard a girl talk about it openly since that's gross. Well, when I was younger I was kind of really into the idea of having sex with Jenny the robot from my life as a teenage robot. Same with the girls on Avatar, The Last Airbender. Now I'm into Rule 34. Furry porn. I'm not even sure how I found it, but it was probably in my first few months after discovering porn. I've always been interested in transformation and things like werewolves, so it's not that much of a surprise that I ended up finding it sexual. My other one is rape. Problem is, I really don't like seeing pain. Finding porn that has abuse themes but no pain is not easy. I think this is a pretty common fetish among the ladies, but I haven't seen as much of it with other men. Magic is in there too, which fits in with the furry stuff I think. I just like fantasy themes. When I was 13 or 14, I started to develop a sick fetish that has carried on into my adult. A desire for consensual sex in the missionary position for the sole purpose of procreation. I want to throw up for even writing that. As a young girl, I don't know where it came from, but I just would think about getting tied up and being totally dominated. This was during a period where I was just going through puberty. The thoughts turned me on more than anything. One day I found out you can actually access thousands of free porn videos. Just confirmed it. Scratching and spanking is a must. Absolutely love dominant guys. I'm also a straight female but I enjoy watching lesbian porn videos much more. I always feel the male or female is either ugly or not my taste, so I very rarely get turned on from it. I always feel like the videos are super phony. I do love James Dean videos though. When I was in 4th grade I had a major crush on one of the daycare workers. I was watching The Chapel Show, and it was the episode where the white guy lived with the black people in a condo. As a reality TV show, the scene where the girlfriend visits and ends up sleeping with the black guys made me sick to my stomach. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. In 8th grade, I got off to the thought of my ex with other guys. I had a dream about my current girlfriend, at the time, sucking off her ex. I hated it still, but it was something I often thought about. The next year, I proposed to another girlfriend that we have an MFM threesome. Nothing ever came of it, so I tried talking to my next girlfriend about it. She was down, but still, the chance never came around. The next girlfriend was totally down for it but said she was too young to try it with 2 guys at once, but agreed to have one with one of her female friends. We talked about it from time to time and finally settled on a girl, but her friend didn't want to do it. We accepted that, but finally, I found a girl I really loved, now my wife, and wanted to watch her have sex with another man, or even do other things with him, but it's just not her cup of tea. I respect that, so my fetish will just remain a fantasy. I don't remember what originally triggered it, but I've had my fetish for hypnosis for as far back as I can remember. I remember being a little kid, and whenever someone was hypnotized or mind controlled in a TV show or movie I was watching, I would get an erection. I was too young to understand what was happening, or even what sex or a fetish was, so I had erections associated with hypnosis before I had associated them with sex. I also had a fascination with hypnosis and back then wanted to be a hypnotist when I grew up. It was only some time after I hit puberty that I started associating hypnosis with sex, and learned what a fetish was. After that the story gets more common. Started finding fetish websites, scoured the internet for porn that caters to my niche tastes, etc.
R and click as many times as needed until you find something that turns you on. When I was very young, I remember being obsessed with this video of these creatures that sucked in air like balloons. They did so until they popped. I also remember asking my mother what would happen if everyone was as fat as Santa. I also had a crush on my chubby kindergarten teacher. I fully realized my stuffing weight gain fetish when I typed in fattening up women into Google in 7th grade. I also like curvy chubby fat girls. Most of my friends know about the girls. Very few know about the fetish. I'm with a chubby girl right now. She doesn't know about the fetish. I don't plan on following through with any of my fetishistic sexual fantasies, and I'm fine just having sex with chubby ladies. Really can't pinpoint a specific time when I realized I had a foot fetish. It always kinda thought girls' feet were cute. But it wasn't until a girlfriend of mine started putting her feet in my lap and running her toes along my cock through my pants that I indeed confirmed that I was a foot fetishist. Unfortunately, I never got farther with it than that with that girl, and since then I haven't been able to muster up the courage to try and bring it up with any of my sos or hookups. I took taekwondo after school and got turned on whenever I got hit. I didn't realize it was turned on because I was 9. But then real puberty came, as well as the endless stream of weirder and weirder porn, and BDSM isn't even that weird, and suddenly everything clicked. I studied in China, had my first Asian, and came back with yellow fever worse than a Panama Canal construction worker. I realized I liked transsexuals when I was 17. It's made me terrified of forgetting to delete my browser history. My fiancée had brain surgery when she was little. This resulted in an enormous zipper scar which starts at the base of her neck and ends on the very top of her head. She's self-conscious about it, which is unusual for her as she's really confident. I revel in this little flaw, and whenever I get the chance, I lick it, starting my tongue at the bottom and working my way up in its entirety. She squeals when I do it, and it gets me hard in an instant. The sensation of my tongue running along it makes me more horny than her little moans do. TLDR, I lick the scar on my fiancée's head. I was watching the Adam Sandler movie Click when I was in my early teens and got a funny feeling in my pants when the dog started humping the stuffed animal. Turns out I'm into dogs. During my freshman year of college, one of my dastardly co-residents started calling me Bean as a nickname. Before long, I realized my fetish for beans was an almost unavoidable occurrence. These days, I find myself asking my significant others to join me in my annual bean bath whenever I have the time and funds and bathtub to do so. It happens rarely, but we truly enjoy it whenever it does. If I'm being realistic though, making the bean bath anything more than a yearly occurrence is a bit of a bean dream that I struggle to grasp. Maybe in one of these days. Bean. My girlfriend and I have just recently learned that she's into light bondage. I find it really intriguing. We're just not sure how to use that, since neither of us are prepared to go into one of those stores. Some days I think the fact that I just like boring old vanilla one guy one girl porn is a fetish. It seems to be the minority on the internet. Saw OP. Realized I wasn't a huge faggot. Proceeded to duck itches. Zetara Aoki. Hentai anime manga. Pretty much skirt plus thigh high socks. I have a lot of weird ones and people I know have access to my posts. So I choose tattoos. And arms. Bonus. Arm tattoos. I love the thought of being someone's slave. The fact that I have to do what the guy says and am under his complete power has always fascinated me. Also, lesbian porn and just lesbians in general. Or even girls touching each other. I'm not lesbian or really attracted to girls. I just love seeing girls with other girls. Finally, biting. Not being bit as much, but biting guys on the neck especially. I had a boyfriend that would always call me his vampire, because I would bite his neck. I found out that I love licking assholes when I tried licking an asshole. I find a woman is at her most beautiful when she is pregnant. I am dealing with an extremely dangerous double-edged sword here, given I also find impregnation to be very arousing yet have no desires for the actual kid business of it all.
But God almighty, those milky tits and that round stomach. I don't even care about all the negatives that come with it. A pregnant woman to me is as good as she can possibly get. Save for a woman who has already had children getting pregnant again. I love girls that squirt. So, my French teacher, whom at 14 I had a big crush, was a beautiful woman. She was easily the nicest teacher I had and the one I liked the most by far. There was an odd thing about her though. There became a point when I had started noticing that she seemed to becoming more and more radiant every time I would have a lesson. I couldn't figure it out for a while until it became apparent that had been getting bigger and bigger. So yeah, pregnant women do it for me. I don't really know why either. It's not like I'll suddenly find women attractive if I didn't find them attractive before. And I don't find overweight women attractive either. There's just something about a big firm belly. Aftermath? Well, I had sex with my ex while she was pregnant with our child. It was challenging and fun but didn't happen very often. I've been caught staring a few times by girlfriend's friends, but they don't seem to think I'd be looking at a pregnant woman. I have always have been the nice guy. Friend to hang around. Non-threatening gent. Very respecting toward female friends and co-workers. Very vanilla sex, but always complimented on technique. Frequently received the comment, "You are almost too nice." A few weeks back, girlfriend takes my hand and has me choke her during sex. Purportedly first time for her. Definite first time for me. BDSM floodgates opened. I am now filling out a checklist and we are making a contract. As stated prior, BDSM rocks. I'm a furry. I was writing a story about shapeshifters a long time ago, and I wasn't sure how to depict a half bird, half human. I searched online for some references, and I was like, whoa, this is actually a thing? Yup, it's a thing. Well, you see, one day I broke both of my arms. Navel fetish. I discovered it when I realized that it wasn't the wet V's, moaning women or bouncing boobs that turned me on, but the wiggling of their torso, especially their belly buttons, navels. Summertime is a hard time. I'm kind of a masochist when it comes to sex. I like it rough, up against walls, spanking, bondage, domination, the whole 9 yards.